I think in my own personal experience, autistic burnout has been the hardest thing I've ever encountered. The most detrimental to my well being, my growth, so many things, and it just felt like a black hole that I couldn't escape from. Years spent in it, years. And so I just want to talk about the importance of therapy, or having somebody to talk to, feeling like you can talk to somebody, feeling like somebody is trying to see you. Not even that they do, just that they try, that if you valued in some way, because these are all things that I struggled with and tried to push past, and it just didn't really get anywhere. I felt like Sisyphus pushing that boulder up the hill in the Greek mythology just for it to come crashing back down. All that effort I put in for nothing. Like, I felt like I could I could have learned a new language with that effort or this and that. Instead, I put all this effort into something that's just taking away from me more and more. And it just can be very, very defeating. So, I wouldn't recommend just trying to push past it ever. I started grad school and I didn't take a break. I didn't take a break from the friends I didn't like until I really didn't like them. I didn't take a break from all the work I had to do, and I didn't talk to anyone about it because I felt like I was embarrassed. I didn't want to be perceived by anyone. I didn't want anybody to know who I was. I didn't feel like myself anymore. So these thoughts, it seemed like I was protecting myself, but really I was just injuring myself more and more as time went on. Because, again, I wasn't getting anywhere with it. I never really encountered something this bad before. I thought I could just, put on my big boy pants and just power through it, which I did for a while, but not without a cost. So, what therapy did for me is, for one, it kind of started to validate my feelings of things, like how people talk to me versus other people. It's kind of true that autistic people don't get the friendliest sort of treatment. And sometimes it doesn't feel like it's necessarily something that should be a big deal, but it is to other people. I mean, if your shoulders are wrong while you're sitting there, that's going to bug people 9 out of 10 times, and us autistic people need to put up with that. The bad thing is burnout kind of exacerbates those symptoms, so it makes people treat you worse. It makes you feel like you're not worth anything because nobody seems to think you're worth anything. At least that's how it was for me, and I just try to ignore it. Ignore the haters, right? It's really hard to do. I think that's easier said than done, and I don't know if anyone really does that. When somebody says, I don't care what anyone thinks of me, I think you're saying that because you want me to think something about you. Point being, it's not easy just to ignore all the hate. It's not. Especially when you're already down in the dumps. So, therapy, what it did for me is it just, for one, had somebody who has knowledge in this domain of expertise. Has somebody who can talk to you about things and give real-time feedback. Because, see, I did go to friends at some point, and they didn't know how to handle it. Some friends, they just cut me out. They ghosted me. It's like, it just adds to the wound that, you try to push through it to not bug anyone. Well, this isn't working. You tell a friend about what's going on, and they just get weirded out by you, and you just feel worse. So, you won't really have to deal with that if you're going to a therapist. You don't have to worry about what sort of relationships you're going to jeopardize, because autistic burnout does, sadly. Whether it's just you isolating or you not acting yourself, people tend to pull away, at least for my own experience. I lose friends almost every time I go through a burnout period. But having somebody to talk to about it and validating your feelings gives reason for you to be there and for you to figure it out on how did I actually get here. On top of it, when you're there, it just really helps to have somebody to try to understand you, because one of the biggest feelings I have is loneliness. Just feeling like you don't belong anywhere. And the fact that somebody's there to help you out through it, whether or not you can get cynical about it, like I'm paying this person this and that, but at the end of the day, I think a lot of therapists really want to help their clients. So, it just helps to have somebody who's trying to understand you, trying to help you get through this thing, because if you're like me at all, you just don't even want to talk about it. It's like, at a certain point, it's like they're not going to even get it. They're going to think I'm making this thing up. They're going to think I'm making a big deal out of everything, just making, a catastrophe out of nothing. But it's just something that most people aren't going to experience. So it's hard to deal with. It's like, I'm going to deal with this thing, and if I talk to people about it, they're going to think it's a non-issue. They're not going to get it. They're not going to really understand how hard it is to deal with bright lights and loud noises on top of other things. But, it's an issue. It's an issue, and it wears down on you over time. So with therapy, it just gives you some of that. Gives you some aspect of feeling like you're a person that matters. And really, it does matter. If you're struggling with how I was and how a lot of people are, it's like, I think a lot of people who were rude to me in the time, they would take it back if they knew what I was dealing with. So it can make you feel a little less alone, and it can make it so that you get less and less sensitive to being perceived by others, because that's kind of how it worked out for me. Hiding all these feelings all the time and never talking about them just made me feel like I always had to hide myself. And just getting some of that practice in some way of expressing yourself to somebody makes you feel like, okay, all right, I'm here for a reason. There's a way out of this place, and somebody's trying to help me do so. So it's helpful. I should say that I know that a lot of people don't really have access to therapy. I think it's more accessible than it was. And I also think therapy is a stepping stone. You should graduate from it. I don't know if everybody needs it all the time. Maybe some people do. But in the end, it's for rough patches in my mind, at least for most people. And really, it's just, you can either keep pushing that boulder up the hill and trying to, just power through it, or you can get some help in pushing that boulder up the hill. And in my experience, it was like, I spent 3 to 4 years in burnout before I finally found that motivation to get out of it. And then, I experienced it again. And maybe, I think in a lot of ways it was darker going back into it, knowing where I was going. But I didn't keep it secret. I didn't keep around people who pushed me in burnout, because I understood this is what put me in burnout. I started just understanding things more, for one, but again, just feeling as if you can talk to somebody and feel seen. That helps a tremendous amount in itself without the extra tools that you get. So it's somewhat of like a blow to the ego for some people to go to therapy and have to admit that you have a problem you need help with. But really, it's not. Everybody needs help at some time or another, and it's just not worth struggling, because it just does sap away at so much. Like, I was studying all the time and I couldn't remember anything that I used to know, and what I was learning then, and it just was a lot. Now I'm just feeling like, in respect to where I was, I am just so much quicker able to just kind of remember things, connect dots better, so on and so forth. It's hard to push through. That's the point. It's just hard to push through all around. And if you're anything like me and hate being perceived while you're going through burnout, because, well, neurotypicals aren't nice to you. You don't like how you're acting, you don't feel like yourself, so you don't want to present anything about yourself to anyone, because I felt like people are going to get the wrong idea. In fact, a lot of people almost subconsciously were keeping me there. They see these symptoms and they think, oh, this is what he is. This is how I'll treat you. And, well, it took therapy for me to finally be like, I'm not going to put up with that shit. I'm not going to hang out with you. I'm going to go find better friends that actually care about me and are, it's not just a one-way street. Because a lot of times that's how toxic relationships work out in one way or another. It's more about the other person than it is about the two people. So I just found that I could have stopped banging my head up against the wall and saved myself maybe like 2 or 3 years of my life, which probably compound in some way. That stress doesn't exist in a vacuum. I don't know how it's going to affect me later on, because I was always stressed out. But in the end, I got hit hard with it, like really hard with it. I did the wrong thing and tried to push through it. And I still got out. I still got out eventually. So I guess I'm saying there's a right way to do it, a wrong way to do it, and still with the wrong way to do it, I still found a way out. Just, you could find a faster way out, probably, if you find somebody to talk to in some way. And, it needs to just be non-judgmental. That's all. And that's exactly what therapy is. So, I think I'm going to end that rant there, because this is just something that really helped me out. And I hope to have the tools now to not go into those long-term burnouts. Might happen at some point, I don't know, but hopefully it's never going to be more than a week long. Hopefully. I hope.